guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about motivation, especially when it relates to self-talk. I am going to be using a study and a book to base all of the tips that I'm going to be delivering in this video. I do want to give you a summary of the book and the study before we start. The study just poses the question, is it bad to think of yourself as smart immediately after you successfully complete a task? And can motivation for being intelligent be detrimental to your motivation? And the book just builds on the conclusions of the study. However, I do think that the book has this very interesting formula that supposedly predicts the kinds of people that will ultimately be successful in mastering a skill. So if you're interested in any of the things that I said, follow me through the rest of this video. But before we do that, I do want to get in a word from Skillshare, which has very kindly sponsored this video.
Skillshare is an online learning community that offers thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including productivity, language learning, time management, personal development, and more. As a life learner myself, I am always trying to hone my productivity skills. So I recently started a course by YouTuber and podcaster Thomas Frank called How to Build Habits That Last. One of the main takeaways I had from this course was to limit my goal list. I am definitely the kind of person that wants to pursue 10 goals at a time, but as Thomas Frank said in his class, it takes time and deep concentration to make genuine progress in the things I want to pursue. So having a myriad goals does have the negative impact of affecting the depth at which I can pursue something. So head on to Skillshare to get access to thousands of inspiring classes with hands-on projects and feedback from a community of millions. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership so you can explore your creativity.
So let's talk about the study. These two psychologists at Columbia University decided to investigate the effect that prize had on motivation and performance. So what they did was that they took a group of kids who had already successfully completed a task and they divided them into three groups. The first group just got praise for completing the task, so something like good job. The second group got praise for being intelligent, and the third group got praise for being hardworking. So we're going to be focusing on group 2 and 3. Does it make a difference if we praise other people or ourselves for being hardworking or intelligent? The study says, yes, it does. Let's talk about the kids who were praised for being smart. Researchers discovered that those kids were actually less motivated than the other kids to complete harder tasks. And the reason for that is because of two things. Number one, in succeeding tasks, they set out to prove the belief that they were smart at the expense of learning. So they were a little bit less likely to want to engage in harder tasks because they thought that if they failed, the title of being smart would get stripped away from them. So their ultimate goal became on being validated about their intelligence and not on learning from the tasks that they were given. The other problem that the researchers uncovered was that the kids who were praised for being smart actually were less resilient than the other kids when they faced failure. The kids who failed thought that failing was a reflection of how smart they were.
And because being smart, gifted, or talented are characteristics we believe we either have or don't, the kids who failed felt helpless when they didn't succeed because they thought there was nothing they could do to make themselves smarter. So in other words, they reasoned that failure was permanent.
In contrast, the kids who were told that they were hardworking were more likely to engage with succeeding and more difficult tasks. They also reported to enjoy the learning process a lot more than the other group. And finally, when faced with failure, they attributed their failure to a lack of effort, not to a lack of intelligence. The reason why I believe this research is relevant is because as language learners, we're all inevitably going to meet failure. However, there are some people that take failure to mean that they are just simply not gifted enough to learn languages, or that they are too old at this point to learn a language, and that it's impossible for someone beyond the age of 6 to become fluent in a language unless they're super talented and have a tendency to learn grammar and vocabulary. Those things are not true, and the only thing that those beliefs do for you is that they stagnate you in a fixed mindset. It is so much more important to focus on what you can do in order to improve your performance. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more with Grit by Angela Duckworth. The second thing that I want to talk about in this video that I think will motivate you is to dismantle the myth of the gifted child. One of my favorite books, Grit by Angela Duckworth, talks about this phenomena. She has a very neat and beautifully simple formula that talks about this concept, and she basically shows how being smart or talented or gifted is only part of the equation, and that being consistent, hardworking, and putting effort into whatever you strive to complete weights more than being talented and naturally gifted at something. This is the formula that Angela Duckworth uses to predict success. Now, as you can see, the effort part counts for 2, and the talent part counts only for 1. So that means that effort is actually more important than talent, according to her research. I do want to expand on the idea of effort, because it's not any kind of effort. It's something called sustained effort. It consists of consistency and focus. In order to achieve long-term goals or to acquire a skill, you need to be consistent. That means that you need frequent exposure to whatever skill you're trying to acquire. You need practice. But it can't be any kind of practice. It also has to be focused practice. So bringing it back to language learning, it's not enough that you are consistent with your practice in the sense that, for example, you learn 5 words every single day. That practice doesn't count if you're actually not focused on what you're doing, and while you draw your 5 words and look up for the definitions, you're wondering about something else, or you're looking at a TV, or you're constantly checking your phone. Focused practice has to consist on you making an effort to struggle through the material and really use your brain power in order to learn. Now, if you're like me, it's probably really hard for you to concentrate and focus on something, especially if it's for a long period of time. However, I've been able to circumvent that by becoming fascinated with a particular subject that at first glance didn't really catch my eye. You can check out this video if you want to know a little bit more about how I do that. Dismantle the myth that talented people are inevitably going to be successful. That is not true, and if you want to learn more about that, check out Angela Duckworth's book, Grit. I think it's an incredible book, one of the things that have been the most formative for me as a learner. I will be putting it in the description down below if you guys want to know a little bit more about it. That is it for today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video and I hope it's useful to you. And if you want to learn a little bit more about languages in a more humorous tone, definitely go check out my TikTok.